Can you actually get over someone you love? Days later, months later, or even years later, hearing their name, or even when a random memory pops up in your head and spiraling and losing yourself in their thought. If you have faced that, then this video is for you. If you're new here, I'm Vesh, and this is the place where we talk about everything from healing your traumas, building self-love, self-esteem, confidence, and as a result of which, building your best life. After being in a relationship, when you go through a heartbreak, or even if you are in a situationship and you end up going through a heartbreak, when you come out of it, the pain is so monopolizing that it consumes your entire being. The pain of going through heartbreak is so paralyzing when you think of you losing something that is so dear to you, that is so important to you. Sometimes it even feels like an unjust betrayal where the person you were in a relationship with or the person you were associated with never cared for your feelings and never showed up for you the way you showed up for them. You tell yourself that you are simply the victim of loving too much, and no matter how much it protects your ego, that is simply not the truth. Maybe this person in front of you cared for you and showed up in the ways that they could have possibly known to show up, but maybe that wasn't enough for you. Maybe you both are amazing human beings, but maybe you two together in a relationship, maybe you aren't compatible, or maybe you are not the best pairing of all times. At the end of the day, probably this person did care for you, and probably they did not intend on hurting you, and maybe you both are amazing people, but you two being together in a relationship or a connection was just not meant to be. Maybe you attracted each other because of the psychological wounding that you have inside you, and maybe this relationship was not meant to work after all. But sometimes when going through a heartbreak, it is easier to blame them and villainize them. And on the other hand, sometimes when you're going through heartbreak, you could even be going through that deep sense of loss that this person was probably the best thing that happened to you, and you might never find someone who is as good as them. And when you're navigating through this pain, you also end up forgetting about this newfound peace that you have in your life of not being in that relationship. And I want you to take a moment here and reflect back onto your relationship and think of all the times when you were in the relationship where you felt pain, where you felt that this person is hurting you and they could not show up for you the way you wanted them to show up. And it could be anything. Maybe you felt your needs were not being met. Maybe they did not care for you. Maybe they just ignored you when you needed them the most. But maybe truth be told, from the very beginning, you both came into each other's lives to just teach each other lessons. Maybe you might end up together, who knows? But that is a question for later on. That is not something that you should be worried about right now. Right now, your focus needs to be on you taking care of yourself, you pouring all that love into yourself that this other person probably did not or failed to do so. And maybe the truth is, it was never meant to work out, and you end up in this situation, and maybe there was a part of you that knew all along that this relationship wasn't right for you, but you still tried to make it work so hard. You went out of your way to keep this person in your life because you saw the beauty in this person. You saw the light in this person, and you wanted so badly to be loved as well. And maybe it's possible that you were trying to fill a void inside you by keeping this person in your life. Also, it's possible that maybe in some way or the other, an abandonment wound inside you got triggered by this person leaving your side. And maybe the pain that you're feeling right now when you're navigating through this heartbreak is possibly your abandonment getting triggered as well. And you should grieve this loss that you have faced in your life, but not for so long that you keep grieving for this person as if they were the one. Because truth be told, maybe if they were the one for you, you would not have been in this position right now. If it was meant to be, it would have happened. But being in this pain, being in this situation, maybe it's difficult for you to put a perspective into it and understand the exact situation that you are going through. Some part of you can even feel that life can't go on without them. And I want you to remember that you are not the only person who has gone through a heartbreak. I have been through a heartbreak. I know so many of my friends. You would know so many of your friends who have gone through a heartbreak, and here we are surviving and being happy after going through and navigating all that pain. Keep reminding yourself that you are not the only person who is in this situation. My heartbreak was so devastating that I cried myself to sleep so many days and nights. I could not comprehend going a day without this person. But instead of focusing on what could have happened, what did not happen, I decided to focus on myself. I decided to choose myself and give myself the love that I truly desired in this pain. If I don't have my back when I'm going through a heartbreak, who would possibly even have it? And truth be told, it's not that time heals all the pain. If you don't work on this pain, if you don't work on yourself, and if you don't identify your patterns and understand what even caused you to be in this situation right now, you might end up repeating the same patterns. Let's say tomorrow, if you find another person, and even let's say if you are in that process of dating again, the moments of potential intimacy might remind you of this person that you were grieving about because you have not processed the heartbreak pain in a healthy way. And that's the last place you actually ever want to be in. Life goes on. Sometimes you might not be able to get over the loss of this person as quickly as possible, but that should not stop you from living. Because if this pain is so intense for you and you are not able to get over this person, let's say after 2 to 3 months, that shows that you had made this person the center of your existence and the center of your world. And it is not fair to put that kind of a pressure on someone else, truth be told. Inherent in missing that relationship so badly is also an underlying story where you keep telling yourself of how great this relationship was. But if it was that great, would you have been in this position today? Sometimes when time passes on, we forget about the bad things and we keep romanticizing over all the good memories that happened, and we create a fake story in our head that this relationship was actually the best thing that ever happened to us, and we can never replace it with another person or another relationship. And you end up thinking that how can you possibly get over this pain of losing the most incredible person that you had ever met in your life? And this again is a reflection of how much importance you gave this person in your life. You cannot put someone on a pedestal. The only person you should be putting on a pedestal is you yourself. And it is very unhealthy for you to idolize or romanticize a person to such an extent that your life has no meaning without them being in it. Because in a way, you love this other person more than you love yourself. And maybe that is why this pain is so intense for you to handle, because you lost a big part of yourself with this heartbreak. And as excruciating as this pain is in this moment, I want you to take and channel this pain in a healthy way. When I went through my heartbreak, for the first 3 weeks, I was crying. I was in such a deep pain. But after 3 weeks, I made a conscious decision that I have to channel this pain in a healthy way. That is when I started working on so many projects, and I even started building my life. Looking back right now, that heartbreak was actually the best thing that happened to me, because it opened up so many possible avenues for me in my professional life which I could focus on. And you need to realize that somewhere you need to start connecting to the reality of what the situation was instead of a story that you have built up in your head. The reality is that it did not work out, and maybe your experience of being in that relationship was completely different from their experience of being in that relationship. Maybe the stories that you are telling yourself are not the stories that they are telling themselves about the relationship. Probably the greatest love story that you're telling yourself is just a story that you made up in your head. And you have to come to a stage where you divorce yourself from the idea and the story of the relationships you are telling yourself in this process of heartbreak, so that you can re-look into that relationship from a very fresh perspective. It's a very difficult head trip to actually detach yourself from the stories that you're telling yourself and instead look at the reality of what that relationship was. Understanding and analyzing the relationship and learning and taking the lessons from it so that you don't end up repeating these patterns the next time around. And there will always be a part of you that is going to be married to the old story until you're willing to let it go. True healing starts when you are willing to let go of the story that you have made up in your head and you start accepting the things for how it has unfolded. And you need to realize that there's no point in replaying these old stories in your head, because you're going to impress those thoughts in your subconscious head and you will end up attracting similar circumstances in your life again and again. So the thing that you need to take out of this is, what are the lessons that you have learned in this whole process? Also, I want you to ask yourself, what exactly are you grieving for? Are you grieving for the loss of this amazing person, this perfect partner, the amazing relationship that you had? Or are you grieving the loss of a future that you imagined in your mind, the stories that you told yourself about of how life is going to turn out with this person? The first kind of grief is a bit more harder to get over than the second kind of grief. It's a possibility that you don't miss them as a person. You're possibly missing that feeling of being in a relationship, of having someone by your side that you could talk to whenever you wanted. And maybe it's a vacancy that's created in your heart, the void that's created in your heart due to the absence of this person that is causing you all this pain. And if you think about it, if it's the void that is causing you so much pain, you have given a big part of your existence to this person. No one is coming into your life to complete you. You should not even expect anyone else to complete you. You need to be a whole person, and in a healthy relationship, two people come together to complement each other, to add on to each other's life, not to complete each other. Sometimes when going through this heartbreak, people end up pushing away the pain. People end up completely turning a blind eye to the pain that they are going through and avoiding uncomfortable feelings and emotions altogether. But let me tell you, if you do not process this pain by sitting with it, by going through that storm, this will catch up to you in your next relationship. When a relationship ends, it's possible that we have this deep void inside us and we try to replace this void with another person. And if you haven't processed all the learnings, if you haven't processed all the emotions that you're going through, you're going to start projecting onto this new person in a very unhealthy way, which is also going to put you through a similar kind of pain. So I want you to focus on processing the pain by being with yourself, by being present and taking time off for yourself. The best thing that you can do when you're going through heartbreak is loving yourself, giving yourself the hug. Even if you're crying yourself to sleep, give yourself a hug and tell yourself you are there for yourself. Because if you think about it, going through a heartbreak is you losing that sense of love from the other person. And the only way to replace that love is by you loving yourself. You choosing yourself. Go towards the storm that you possibly are avoiding, because if you go through the storm, all these emotions cannot stick for that long, because when you face that storm, it disintegrates. And when you face those emotions, it ends up losing its power over you. Sit in a silent space, sit in a comfortable position and feel that pain, feel that grief, cry and tell yourself it's okay. This is not permanent. This is not something you are going to go through for the rest of your life. Maybe for few weeks and maybe for few months. But I don't want you to be in this heartbreak pain for, let's say, more than 2 to 3 months. In fact, I gave myself an ultimatum that in 1 month, I have to process this pain. I have to process this grief. I'm going to cry as much as I can for this 1 month. But after 1 month, I'm going to focus on myself, building my self-love, self-esteem and confidence so that I can learn my lessons, integrate them into my life and show up as a better person going forward. And if you're going through a heartbreak and if you want to get coached by me when it comes to developing self-love, self-esteem and confidence, you will find all the links in the description box below. When you're going through a heartbreak, please feel all the sadness and all the disappointment of losing this relationship and of losing this person, and don't shove the pain under the rug. You have the perfect opportunity in front of you to love yourself, to re-establish a relationship with yourself, because maybe this heartbreak re-triggered all the abandonment wound that you have inside you, which God generated in your childhood. And this is a perfect opportunity for you to establish a relationship with yourself. You even have the most perfect opportunity to show self-compassion and not shame yourself for the pain that you're going through, to be there with you, to support yourself through this pain. And if you do this right, when you come out of this heartbreak, you're going to be transformed. You're going to be a completely different person before you went through this pain. Your sense of love for yourself, self-esteem and confidence goes to a whole different level if you process this heartbreak pain in a healthy manner. When you love someone, the way you show up for them is the exact way I want you to show up for yourself through this process. You can feel this pain, but it can't be a state of never taking accountability of this pain and never letting go of this pain. You can't hold on to this pain as if it's going to last for your entire lifetime. Remember, please don't grieve for this person as if they were the one, because truth be told, if they were the one, you would not have been in this position. And once you process this pain and once you do your healing in this heartbreak phase, maybe you might evolve out of it in such a way that you don't even want to go back to this person. You will understand all the things that both of you did wrong when you were in the relationship, and maybe this will ready you to attract a better relationship into your life. And I hope that one day comes where you are willing to give love another chance, because it's not that the world has a shortage of good people out there. You have to open your mind up in such a way and start believing in the possibility of you attracting someone who is right for you and who you can have a healthy relationship with. Biggest lesson I learned during my heartbreak is realizing that we are not forever. Nothing is forever. And it's okay. And I'm still grateful for what this person taught me, and I'm grateful for the love that I experienced in this relationship and for all the lessons that I learned in this relationship, even though it was bad. But I still learned those lessons and coming into acceptance with the fact that it is okay now. It's okay for me to let him go. Maybe that was the purpose we had in each other's life all along, and that's okay. When you can come to this place is where you actually move on from the relationship that you once had. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.